y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. This is a collective coffee. Hey, what's up? I was wrong. There actually was a buzzer on when World War III starts. But I think that World War III has been happening for a while in various ways. But as countries fold into this, it's becoming evidently more clear to the collective that we are here. So, I just saw on TikTok San Diego is out on the streets protesting against all of this. If you don't know, I'm sure you do, Donald Trump chose to go a little rogue yesterday and bomb Iran without congressional support, supposedly. Also, while we're here, we gotta talk about what they're doing with the higher ups within the military. They're replacing the generals and captains and colonels with tech people. Is it Silicon Valley folk? I don't know. But remember, I told you this was gonna happen back in January when the mainstream media, before he was inaugurated, was setting up veterans with the way that the media was covering those stories that happened in Louisiana and Vegas with the veterans. I was telling you that Trump was going to use that as an opportunity to disqualify the higher ups within the military and replace them with his own people, and that happened this week. And now we are here in the United States bombing Iran. So far, Israel and the United States have their alliance against Iran, against the entire Middle East. Let's keep it real, because Israel has been bombing Syria, Lebanon, I think Jordan occasionally. I don't think Jordan's really quite in on it yet. I know that people from Jordan are really very much for Gaza and Palestine. Yemen has been getting bombed by the United States for the past few months. I don't think, were they getting bombed? They may have been getting bombed during Biden. But remember, Yemen is the only country that really went up for Palestine since October of 2023. Now, a lot of Americans are speculating about a false flag event coming up to gain the public's support for going after Iran. As we can see with what just happened this week with Iran and Israel, Iran did respond to Israel and has been bombing them repeatedly. People are talking about how Iran does not have the capacity to make their bombs travel to the United States, and that the only relevant threat there would be the U.S. bases in the Middle East. Remember that the United States has over 4,000 military bases on the planet, the most by far by any country. Why? Because that's what colonizers do. They post up, send people there to do the colonial takeover, right? That looks like militias, that looks like a whole lot of shit. Contractors, it looks like what we're seeing in the United States too. The cool thing about what's happening here in the United States is that people are finally starting to really resist ICE. It's come out this week that ICE is bounty hunters hired from like the Appalachian region of the United States, and they're getting paid $1,000 to $1,500 per person that they round up. There's footage coming out. Go on my Instagram stories if you want to see any of this stuff. That's where I post all of this. Hey, I'm doing a video right now. Okay. Oh, give me 1 sec. so since that information has come out about the bounty hunters, um, more Americans, and not even Americans, I saw that there was a raid trying to take place yesterday in a southern part of LA, Pico Rivera, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like in between Compton and like some other area. I think I've been down there, but anyway, the community, including the police and the fire department, kicked these motherfuckers out. And again, I do have footage of that, of what they did. There was a mass mobilization. There were people, it was kind of like that Paul Revere, the British are coming. There were people who were driving around beeping their horns to get everyone's attention, and then like literally the whole community came together, including the police and fire department. The fire department used their fire trucks to make these motherfuckers get the fuck out. The police posted up in an intersection and completely blocked it. That was incredible organizing. Obviously, that's not how it's going for the rest of LA. The police, the LAPD, this must have been a separate municipality. I think, like I said, Pico Rivera, maybe. But either way, watching that footage is incredibly important if you want to understand how we should be responding to this and how we can take community control and care. Another thing that's going around about what's happening here in the United States, aside from Iran, is like with the ICE stuff, is a few things. People are going to street vendors and giving them enough for the day or a few hundred to get them back home off the streets. People are recording the vehicles and markets, vendor areas that are left have been abandoned because people have been picked up, to try and reach out for their families. So remember in these times that documentation is incredibly important, and we can all do that with our phones, right? So eventually, if we put it into the internet, it will find who it's supposed to, and that's something that you can do, okay? If you're not so comfortable with being outspoken or whatnot, you can always, low-key take a video or document something going on. Remember, the word La Migra is ICE in Spanish. Be very loud about that, especially if you do have systemic privilege within white culture, or not culture, society. If you're a white passing, you hold more systemic privilege, so utilize that to your ability. There are also people talking about what I've been talking about how following the leader, recognizing that these motherfuckers are buying their shit off of Amazon or whatever, their bulletproof vests, their patches and shit. And people are talking about how they're going to go out in that and make it look like they are the same force so that they can support getting people back to home to safety. We know that within white supremacy groups, they're very organized, so they're going to know who's an outsider or not, but in the heat of the moment with the adrenaline and everything else happening, they're very sloppy. So this is becoming more of a reality and solution that we can do, right? However, if you are going to do that, if you are going to dress in the same outfit, a lot of what's going around is make sure that the family that you're supporting or the people that you're supporting know that you are a good person, trying to support them so that they don't have to be traumatized, right? There are ways to work with them. A lot of people are putting together initiatives to accompany people to their court hearings or ICE things or whatever. People with privilege, there's community efforts around this. Now, Los Angeles is doing an incredible job. LA has a very united front in regards to black and brown power, which is great to see. The initiatives have, the community. I was in a black and brown community in the hood, and yeah, there was some conflicts that people had different stopping grounds, as far as gangs and stuff. But remember, gangs are there initially. The reason gangs have been started has always been to protect community, regardless of what things have happened here and there, or the ways that the government has come down on them or made them out to seem. the reason that gangs were initially started was to protect the community. Um, and so with that in mind, as the OGs grow older, they share that information. It's another oral history. It's an indigenous way of life, okay? Resistance. Um, with Iran, people are saying, I wouldn't remember. I had that vision about the war ships, 8 years ago. So I mean, I think that that was on the West Coast. So I think we're gonna be seeing things escalate from here on out. I would continue to prep. I would continue to get the things that you need. Prices are only going to continue to climb. You might want to, set up a pantry if you need to. Go to a food pantry to get some extra stuff. I don't even know if those are still available because of funding. But check in with your community. Do what you need to do without hoarding supplies. But especially if you have kids, take this as an opportunity to get shit together. I think that at a country scale, remember, we are going to be experiencing civil war alongside World War III. The United States has a very clear divide right now that is ICE and law enforcement and supremacists and Zionists against everyone else, okay? This has always been the story. We've been here before within our lifetimes, but not at a world war level. I'm a millennial. I have friends who have been in the war. I have friends who have gone and been in the Middle East. The cost of war is extreme, and remember, it's not we don't benefit. None of us benefit from this shit. So I think that the good thing to see is that the United States is fighting back against this for the most part. I mean, I've seen some military folk who are brainwashed and being like, we're on the way, or, but a lot of them also don't want to do this. I've also been seeing a lot of young guys getting draft letters, and sharing those on TikTok. It's really heartbreaking. I think this generation has a really this generation being drafted has an opportunity to kind of infiltrate from within. They don't want to go. And when you don't want to go do it, it's much like Vietnam, then don't do it, right? And remember, the orders are going to be coming from higher ups that are not the people who have climbed their way through the ranks. At this point in time, those places have been, it's a coup. This is a military coup on multiple fronts for the United States. Now, the reason, there are a few motivating factors as to why the United States is going after Iran, and one of them is a very rare mineral that can only be found in Iran, and I think Iran is like the oldest country on the planet. Iran or Iraq, either way. The Middle East was very well established before any of these other colonizing entities. Just keep that in mind. Understand that the colonizing entities, whether it's European, United States, or Israel, those are the colonizing entities. Now think about the landmass that those countries hold in regards to the rest of the world. That is tiny. It's like a fraction to the global south. So remember that violence is the only thing that will work for them to achieve their goals. And I don't remember, the mineral starts with an A, but it was just found after like 10 years. So that's a large part of the speculation as to why the United States is. Now, as a millennial, we grew up with the weapons of mass destruction rhetoric from Bush, and this is very much the same. I mean, that's the thing about these entities, is that they haven't changed the programming or propaganda um, enough to pacify the masses, right? So, like, people have access to the internet. We have parasocial relationships at this time, and they're using the same rhetoric from 23 years ago. Weapons of mass destruction, nuclear capabilities. We don't care if they have nuclear capabilities. I believe if the United States has nuclear capabilities, everyone else should be able to as well, If we're gonna kill the planet, might as well, do it all together. Now, that's the thing, though, is it reminds me of a bully, like a high school bully. I'm getting that part of She's All That, when these, like, losers put their pubes on a piece of pizza, and they, like, tell this nerd to eat the piece of pizza, but then this jock comes in, and he's like, no, you eat it, and they have to eat it. So there's, like, this structure of social hierarchy. Within this context, I'm thinking of bullies, right? So, like, how is the United States going to receive their karma? Now, this is the end of an empire. Most empires last, 250 years. The United States is about there, 249, 250, within here or there, whatever. So what the United States is doing right now is a last-ditch effort for control in Israel as well. They've lost, trillions of dollars have gone into brainwashing and propaganda, and within the past 2 years with Palestine, we've seen that completely become obsolete. I mean, for the most part, there's plenty of people who still watch Fox News and believe that shit, but the younger generations, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, and Alpha, we know what the fuck is going on, for the most part. There are pockets of people within each of those generations who are, claiming ignorance, don't want to know, or have been brainwashed into it, sure. But for the majority of us within those generations, we know what's up. We know. So, I think there's this conversation about personal comforts and ignorance as well, recognizing your privilege, whether or not you want to utilize that for good or not, which is very much giving Clueless, okay? Don't you want to use your popularity for good? No. Dion says no. So again, there's that choice, right? We all have that free will to choose which side of history we're going to be on. It is simply good or evil. And we're all alive to see who the perpetrators are. We watched Israel bomb Iran first last week. We watched the United States bomb Iran with Iran didn't do anything to the United States. They stayed in their lane and they bombed Israel back. So the United States is responding to Israel. The alliance between the United States and Israel is one and the same. It is Christian evangelicalism, Zionism, white supremacy, and Nazis. Okay, so that's the alliance here. If they are going for a monarch or whatever, if that's why, was it the United Emirates, Arab Emirates, UEA, were they the ones that royal family gave Trump the plane? I don't know. Either way, we know the past few years, the celebrities have been talking about their bunkers, the masses have been talking about their bunkers, but what I can say that we can predict for the United States at this time, aside from ICE, again, is a false flag event. A false flag event is like what 9/11 was. It was the reason that the United States needed to pacify and get the masses behind what they were going to do in the Middle East. They were going to do it regardless, but they had to kill some of their own civilians to scapegoat the Middle East onto why we're going to go in there, right? Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein were great leaders for the Middle East. They were great leaders within their country. Again, you can go and watch Loose Change. It's a movie by Dylan Avery. I have it on my YouTube. It used to be free, but it's not anymore, and it's also been changed a lot. But Loose Change goes through the relationship between Israel and the United States and the way that Israel was very present within the Twin Towers weeks before 9/11 happened. And can't prove it because they turned it to dust, but we're in there setting detonation to make the towers go down. Again, we've had many of these discussions. If you were alive for 9/11, you know that a plane and jet fuel at that temperature would not do what it did. That was a detonation. And now seeing what we've seen with the bombs in Palestine, I think we have a better understanding. I mean, that's one thing that I've learned from the Palestinians is I mean, I don't feel confident in what I've learned, but the way that they can identify aircraft, certain weapons, certain tactics is incredible. And I've learned a lot from the Palestinians in that they know certain planes, they know certain things, they know what this means when it's there. And because they've been occupied for so long, they've been experiencing this for so long, but the education that we've received from them has been incredible to the understanding. Because, I mean, here in the United States, there's such a divide between civilians and military. I mean, it's just, we other them. We other the military. We don't pay attention to their technology or to what they're doing. Not that they've really shared that, you know, it's a very hush-hush thing, but just saying, in regards to that, you know, Palestinians coming through on TikTok sharing the bombs that are being used, looking at the serial numbers and showing us, like, this was made in the United States. Things like that. It takes a lot of bravery, it takes a lot of balls to do something like that, and they're educating the world, unfortunately, while they are going through that. There's also talk about sleeper cells, and now I feel like this is on the right side of TikTok. I like to stay all over. I like hearing different points of views. I think it's really important to know what your enemy is talking about in these times. Enemy being, again, white supremacists, Christian evangelicals, Zionists, and Nazis, and the government. Corporations are also funding this, so participate in boycotts if you are able to. There used to be such thing as a peace tax where you could opt out of paying into the military budget. Under this administration, I highly doubt that they've made that accessible or available, but there is lots of information about that online. If you would like to look that up, just type in like peace tax. You can sign certain forms and submit them for requesting to be left out of the tax collection towards the military. That's been an initiative since Nam, in the least. But anyway, the United States have been here before. I would recommend watching the movie Across the Universe to get more of a historical context about the people versus the state in the time of Vietnam. Because that's when they had to enact a draft. The people were really against it. Nobody wanted to go, and the government made it. So, Across the Universe is a great movie for lots of reasons. It's the only Beatles songs I like. I don't like it when the Beatles sings their songs, but I like. It's a really whoever put it together is a genius. I believe, like a creative genius. The way they interwove the storylines together with the music that the Beatles produced in that time is beautiful. It's beautiful. Highly recommend. So Loose Change, Across the Universe, V for Vendetta always to get you believing in people power. Also understand how the language and rhetoric is going to go way up with the propaganda. Also, if you need support with that, go check out the playlist Hidden Messages in Media if you want to disengage from media brainwashing. I've broken down a lot of different segments of media and how they use that to gain compliance within the masses. But yeah, here we are. So the vision I had 8 years ago where I saw ships off of the coast of the United States, I shared that the other day. Now I did also see the people being rounded up in busts in the same time that I received those visions. It was 2017. So I feel like there's going to be a mass initiative of raiding. I feel at one point, whether it's under martial law or not, there are going to be agents coming door to door. I've seen it. I mean, it's happening. I mean, right now it's kind of happening out in the wild, but I feel like there's going to be more organized initiatives eventually, like I said, probably under martial law, but right now they're going to have to enact the draft because they're already being low on manpower. There are U.S. soldiers in Israel, there are U.S. soldiers going to Iran, and there are the National Guard here deployed in the United States. So under martial law, they are going to need more manpower, which is why the draft is probably going to be called. So if you are a young man between the ages of 18 and 26, I think, you are either have probably received a letter or you are probably going to receive a letter. And to you, I say, do what you can to upset the machine within that position. Do what you can to throw a monkey wrench into some of the things. The machine being the colonial powers. If you haven't watched the music video for Pink Floyd, The Machine, go watch that. Again, coming out of that time frame of Nam, Civil War, or Civil Rights era. It's important to know the history of the United States, and I think that a lot of people are waking up to those things. Even if there's not a historical understanding, I think that there is an empathetic understanding of like, hey, no, I think that this is I think that the reason that these motherfuckers are going so crazy is because they know they're outnumbered at a global scale. Black and brown people are the majority of the planet. White people are not. As a white person, I'm excited to see the death of this machine, and I'm also, using my part. But we are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. I believe Malcolm X said that. I'm going to do my best to get some more collective comrades and ancestors speak done this week, really delving into some historical context so that we can learn from what's already been done, the resistance that's already been had, and put that in our little tool belts, right? As we don't need to recreate the wheel, we just need to be throwing monkey wrenches into it right now. We need to be, doing what we can to stop the arms deals, to stop the violence, and to wake up our fellow neighbors, right? Make sure that we are talking about these things with the people around us. Make sure we've identified who around us is someone who supports this regime and people who don't. That's something I'm personally going through right now. I pissed off a white boy and he's retaliating against me. And I am in the midst of this right now. So I'm going to share, the last thing I'll share is, whatever ways you feel comfortable speaking up, speak up. If it's graphic tees or whatnot, there's a lot of subliminal messaging that you can just wear on your body. People will see it. It will make people think. Also, if you want to join political organizing, La Raza Unida Partido is accepting new membership. We are the People's Party, and we are organizing for Black and brown folks, specifically Mexican folks, Chicano folks, indigenous folks. So the website is in my info here on YouTube. Also, if you do go to my Instagram, which is Ascending with Ashley, to check out my stories, that's where I post a lot of the things that are happening in the world. But in my Instagram bio, you can also go to the Raza website and learn more or sign up. The positions that are presented for the Raza Party are very much the only political positions I've ever really resonated with as an anarchist. At this point in my life, it's very much to each their own, and we are going to be organizing around that, right? How to get the strength and numbers we need at this time. So please join us if you can. We are growing, but we need more people. And we need white people, we need brown people, we need black people, we need all the people. It is evident and clear that the war is against indigenous people. Wherever you are in the world, if you are indigenous, you are at war with these entities, with these countries, with these systems, and that war is escalating. So, I hope this helps you. There's a lot going on, but remember that the only thing you can control is you. So when you start to feel like you are, taking in too much energy, maybe you're starting your decolonizing process in this moment, be careful not to put yourself into a state of panic or psychosis. It is what it is, and it's always been this way, but we have access to the information faster. So just know that. And yeah, we're seeing people being impacted by it as well, which is stuff that generations of the past were not able to see. Remember, they got their news from newspapers, from the radio, and then the TV, and now we have access to each other. It's a completely different world. So take care of your mental health, but not to the point of becoming apathetic or ignorant. It's important to be participating in this time in history, for your own consciousness, for your own soul. It's important to do the right thing. We were all sitting in history class learning about different times. We knew when we were younger what side we would be on, and now is our time to put that into action as adults. Okay? Have a good one.